Sorry, everybody, for that. Just obviously the novice here as a dad that can't obviously use technology. But excited to be here. Excited to start doing these live drafts. So as you can see, I don't have any followers. So if you could, if you like what you're hearing, please follow, like, subscribe, all that good stuff here on YouTube. To kind of get off the start of this, I'm not big stats guy. I do follow quite a bit of fantasy football and football in general. So I do use quite a bit of my stuff I've picked up over the years, stuff I read, and I do listen to a lot of podcasts, to be honest. Shout outs to Establish the Run, Adam Levitan. He's one of my favorites. JJ Zacharyson is somebody I like to follow. And then we got the Slappy Nation, the Ship Chasing, the Legendary Upside. All those good podcasts are very, it's such a great resource, and it just it's crazy how they do it year round, and I'm always listening. So props to those guys. They put the great content out there, and I just grab bits and pieces from everyone and then create my rankings and what I want to go off of. So I'll get started here on the draft here, and if you want to join in or you want to comment and let me know I made a mistake, totally up for that. I love discussing the kind of picks I need to make to get better. So feel free to add in your input as to if that was a good pick or not, and we can kind of go from there. So I'll all those good podcasts are very such a great resource, and it just it's crazy. So I'll start off with a puppy 2 today. Been doing quite a few of these drafts. Great price point. Underdog is a little bit different from DraftKings, as you all are aware. Got the 2 extra spots, but also then PPR and half PPR is a big deal. So I think that makes a big difference. So yeah, we're just going to try to get in here. Hopefully it works. Like I said, it's my first time. So if it doesn't for any reason, apologize. Yeah, let's get started here. So we're waiting for this one to fill. Favorite pick in the first round is Bijan Robinson. I think the one good thing about Atlanta's offense is that they're very concentrated. As you see, it took a little bit for Bijan to kind of, take over. There's obviously, Tyler Algier was a thorn in the side for a bit there, but obviously in the second half of the season, he showed what he can do, putting on major big games. And I think that's going to fall this year. There's no reason why that won't happen. Same coaching staff, same type of offense. Like I said, very concentrated. So I think that does help the Falcons, especially when it comes to those wide receivers too. Drake London, Darnell Mooney. Obviously you want the best for Pitts, but you never know. And I learned hard last year. He was one of my overly exposed tight ends, and I just figured with Kirk Cousins coming into town, and they finally have a proper quarterback that, he'd do well, and he had a couple of good games, but nothing that when you're allocating so much of your resources to that tight end, Kyle Pitts, it didn't come through for me. So luckily I had quite a bit of Brock Bowers in there. And I'm kind of feeling that same way about Tyler Warren this year. All this great camp hype about him being the focus of the Colts offense. And not to say Daniel Jones is a savior, but if somebody get a ball to his hands, that's all you need. So I got the 6th spot here. Sorry, I was kind of going a little bit of tangents, but I got the 6th spot here. kind of going on with this. Interesting spot. When I look at it, you can go certain ways. Saquon and CD are gone, so it's come down to Gibbs and McCaffrey. For this draft, I'll go with Gibbs. If Slam goes here, but I'm a big believer in CMC, and it all obviously comes down to health, right? If CMC is going to be healthy this year, and he's going to play 16 or 17 games for sure, a full season, he's going to go around the Barkley Bijan range, right? Because he can do everything, run, rush, and pass catch. And so one of my favorite picks obviously is a gamble in health, right? Like I like any really fantasy football player. If he's healthy, he's a focus of that San Francisco offense. Debo's gone, so there's no one less person that's going to take away rushes that could in the red zone. So Gibbs or CMC, either one, you can't go wrong. Gibbs obviously is, if Montgomery's out, then he's a big he's a league winner, but at the same time, I think Detroit's offense might regress a bit, defense as well. So that could push their offense a little more of a passing offense and not be able to control the clock and win games outright, where it's mostly Montgomery, being able to rush and close out those games and where they're winning. So coming around here pretty quick, I do like McConkey, to be honest. I think he's going to take over that. He has taken over that Keenan Allen role, and we saw Keenan Allen be like a wide receiver, top 5 wide receiver a couple of years ago when he was in that Chargers offense. So let's see what happens. One of the biggest things I have been doing is double running back in Underdog, which is not, and there's always a talk about getting a wide receiver, but so McConkey's gone. Bowers is there. I don't know if I could do Bowers right now, but I do like Jonathan Taylor quite a bit. So I've gone the double running back route, and it's kind of scary sometimes when it comes to having two running backs straight up right away. My whole thing is I think Taylor's going to have a good year. He kind of came on at the end of the year, got some injuries, but like I said, with Daniel Jones coming into town and Daniel Jones possibly being the quarterback, not like I said, like Daniel Jones is not going to write home about, but at the same time, I think he's a better fit for that offense when it comes other than A-Rich, who can't pass, I think that and his rushing kind of hurts Taylor, but I think Daniel Jones can support Taylor, kind of like how he did with Saquon back in the day. So I think Taylor will have a good year, because at the same time it's kind of hard to distinguish between the wide receivers. It gets obviously T. Higgins is a good pick. Health is a big concern with T. Higgins, but when he's on, obviously, and he kind of puts up about 180 fantasy points and kind of consistent on that front. So that's a big thing. I'm kind of doing something scary with this draft here. Like I said, going with 2 running backs, and depending on what happens, might be one where you don't take a wide receiver right away, right? Let's see. So I'm going to take Trey McBride. That's what I say. It's kind of different. So no wide receivers in the first 3 rounds, 2 running backs and a tight end. Trey McBride can be looked at as a wide receiver 1 or 2, right? And he's putting up that many points. And he just takes away that tight end spot, so you don't have to worry about it, in the middle of the draft. So It's McBride for me. And I guess now I'll make that run on wide receivers. I think there's a good pocket of wide receivers you can get in that fourth, about eighth round. So I'll build my team that way. Try to go straight all wide receivers, and let's see what happens. I got some favorites in there. I'll kind of discuss them as they come up, but yeah, interesting draft so far. Kittle goes earlier than I have seen so far. He's kind of like always around that turn of that 3-4 turn. So he kind of goes early, like 31st overall, which is pretty high for Kittle, over Garrett Wilson and JSN. So interesting pick there by Jimmy Hendricks. Or sorry, Jimmy Thor Hendricks. I guess that's what it was. What's he building here? Oh, I guess he's building a San Francisco stack. So maybe that's why he went that route. Jaden Daniels goes. And so I listen to a lot of the Fantasy Points podcasts, and I enjoy Theo Reminger. I try to listen to all his podcasts as well. And he has a stance on Jaden Daniels being named the MVP this year, and I agree with him 100%. I think Washington has only gotten better from last year, and fingers crossed if Jaden Daniels can stay healthy, with an improved offensive line. You got a Debo now, a legit wide receiver too that has yak ability. I think that Jaden Daniels can take that step up and be an MVP this year. And I think that's, he's going to make a good case for it. He's going to be up there when it comes to MVP voting. So, I got three options here. I am going to take Ted McMillan. Now, probably you probably wouldn't say the wide receiver one, but at the same time, he's wide receiver one in Carolina, and the hope is that Bryce Young's going to improve this year, take that step up that he did, late last year in the season. He got a little bit better, got a little bit more confident, and started playing as a number one overall pick should be. And so very interesting, Dave Canales comes in. The expectation was that he kind of transfer over what happened in Tampa Bay. Took a little bit of time. I think that benching maybe worked well. It's one of those things where underrated coaching decision to bench your number one draft pick, young quarterback, but it worked out. And I think Bryce Young responded, did well in the second half, and showed that maybe he belongs, right? And so I think Ted McMillan being the number one option on that team as the wide receiver, because they don't have one, right? How much can you throw out Fantasy Football Dad's number one, sponsor, Adam Thielen out there, right? Like, it's time for Ted McMillan to step up. I don't think it's been great going forward. Like, I don't think he's going to put up a lot of big games, but I think there will be some, mass big ones if Bryce Young, like I said, takes that step up. Coming up here, I love Ridley, Flowers, and Odunze, but I'm going to go with Ridley here. So I think Cam Ward helps. To me, Ridley's kind of like kind of going on a limb here and say he's kind of like Terry McLaurin. Last year's Terry McLaurin, where he gets a proper quarterback, is the only receiver on that team. There's nobody else. Like Tyler Lockett and a couple of rookies in there, and Chika Conko was okay, but no real wide receiver depth or alphas you have to worry about. So I think Ridley is going to be Terry McLaurin, maybe junior this year. Not maybe the full effect, but close up there. And I think right now wide receiver 2 is fine. Like I said, there's a good pocket of players there that you can grab. So I'm okay with that. And I'm going to step in here and take my third wide receiver. Let's see what happens with this draft. If Odunze falls, that'd be great. Don't think it'll happen though, but let's see what happens. But Olave is interesting if he can stay healthy. Concussions are nothing to be, and he's gone. But a lot of it, if he stays healthy, I think in that Kellen Moore offense, if he plays a slot, because Kellen Moore loves his slot wide receivers. All his slot wide receivers and all his offenses throughout the years have done well. So if he's the one that goes in the slot and is able to get that run, yeah, he's going to be awesome. Yeah, so it's quite a few to pick from here. I think I'll be okay. Dunze's gone. Juwan Jennings, Godwin, Judy, Debo, Pearsall. So I'm gonna go with Godwin. Big risk here. I think this team's like a risky team, and things have to go right. Godwin, I'm just simply going off the fact that you're back in that Tampa Bay offense, and also at the same time, there's that risk part of it because he is coming off a major injury. So you don't know if he's really healthy or ready to go. So a little bit of concern there. But if he's like, and they did take a Igbuka, so this might be kind of a way to kind of, just to hedge the bet that he's going to be fine and ready to go. But once again, you just never know when it comes to health and a receiver close to his 30s. So, but if he's on, he was tearing it up last year before he did go down. So if we can kind of go off of that, hopefully, and we'll be fine as your wide receiver 3. So, so back up here in 3 picks. Some interesting names available. I do have a guy here that I'm going to bank on again. But let's see what happens here. So, yeah, I just want to kind of hold off. I was just looking through some of the couple of things, but yeah, so I'm going to go with Ricky Pearsall here. It's between him and until Ayuk obviously comes back, and we don't know for sure if he's coming back, in full health or what's going to happen. But it's him and Juwan Jennings that are going to be the top receivers on that team, along with Kittle. So I'm going with Pearsall, just banking on he. It's not like he didn't have any games that you kind of feel confident. He had some big games late last year with Purdy. So I think at the same time. I think he's ready to take that step up. This time, obviously, he had some unfortunate events come down, getting shot, like Cheddar Bob. It was like unfortunate. I think he's kind of delayed in training camp and all that stuff. So I think this year it has a full training camp, all that stuff, and also has that ability to kind of get on the field, possibly play a slot role. Which would be good. And at least he's starting at this point. And if he does well, then, he's not going anywhere. So, banking on that ability for Pearsall this year as one of my sophomore players, I think we'll take that step up this year. So coming up here pretty quick here, look at Judkins, fell so much. He was I think he was going around like pick 74, 75 a couple of weeks ago. So crazy, right? Like that guy, unfortunately training camp coming around, he's a rookie and he might not be there. Like that's just going to hurt him this year and just going forward, like who knows what happens with that whole situation, which is kind of sad. So it just, one of those things where got to stay out of trouble, man. It just kind of gets, it's just not even starting your career and you're kind of ready on the outs. Yeah, that'd be interesting where that goes when it comes to Cleveland. So I have not looking for any quarterbacks right now. Could take Mayfield, but I just kind of want to wait. I do want to kind of grab maybe another wide receiver, but nothing's really exciting out there right now. So Jimmy Thor Hendricks takes Purdy. Obviously, he was building that stack, so that was going to happen. You know what? Let me take Kyler. Probably could have taken another wide receiver, but nothing really excites me. You got, Cooper Kupp's, Higgins. Yeah, Higgins could be good. But at the same time, you got Keon Coleman. You got a lot of the players are kind of like the same. So for me, I'm gonna kind of skip out on that and just take Kyler Murray and stack him with Trey McBride. I think Kyler, he put up some big games last year. We just don't, sometimes we kind of forget. He has that rushing ability. Obviously, all the stats kind of show that his rushing yards per carry has come down and the rushing efficiency has come down, but still has that ability, right, with his feet that he could run. And yeah, last year he was coming off a major injury, right, knee injury. So this year the knee injury is gone. Maybe will get me 1 year recovered from that. So I think he'll probably be better. And so let's see what happens. But I think around that area of the draft, it's a good pick if you need a quarterback. And I do like rushing quarterbacks because they just offer another method of scoring, right? Like rushing type TDs are so important. So I always like to have one in my build. So yeah, we'll just grab Kyler Murray right here. Look at this next pocket here. I don't know if I want to go with, maybe I'll go running back, but let's see what we have here. So we have a couple of quarterbacks available. We got Tyrone Tracy, Scatabo, Dobbins, Charbonnet, Najee, Ramondre Stevenson, and Spears. I'm going to go with Trey Harris. So I think he's going to kind of start popping up the draft boards. So Mike Williams announced his retirement yesterday, and he was supposed to play the X receiver. He's gone, so that's one less individual that Trey Harris will have to beat out to get those snaps. So so far they have Ladd and they have Trey Harris and they have Quentin Johnson, who I don't know if the current coach, I don't know if Harbaugh's really sold on Quentin. He was a previous regime's draft pick, so and they picked Trey Harris. So I think there's a little bit more incentive for Trey Harris to be that guy this year. And you got Justin Herbert, who's a great quarterback, who could throw the ball deep and do all that good stuff. So I think Trey Harris is going to be one of those sleeper picks as training camp opens up. Maybe you hear a little bit more about him, and I think as training camp opens up, he's going to go up the draft boards quite a bit as he makes some crazy catches in training camp, or he just sees more usage than Quentin. Coming around here for the 10th round, and Baker is still on the board as maybe possibly a second quarterback to pair with Godwin. And no, he's not. So he's gone. Charbonnet's available, Najee's available, Ramondre Stevenson maybe as a running back. So I am going to go with Charbonnet. So the whole offseason about the Seahawks is about, them wanting to run the ball quite a bit. So obviously that plays into, maybe taking those running backs. And so the good thing about Seattle is that if, with Kenneth Walker, he's obviously pretty injury prone. And Charbonnet showed that when he's the man and when he's the running back one, he puts up some big games. So this is me with already Gibbs and Taylor. So I'm hedging on possibly, if Walker can't stay healthy, then Charbonnet is going to get those, those touches. So, and if not, I already got two running backs that I can kind of rely on, but But I definitely think that if Walker was to go down, Charbonnet could be a league winner again, just like last year when he put up those like 3 or 4 big games. So looking at right now, currently 1-3-5-1 build so far. Kyler's my quarterback with Trey McBride as my tight end in the stack. Gibbs, Taylor, and Charbonnet are my running backs, and McMillan, Ridley, Godwin, Pearsall, and Trey Harris are my wide receivers. Wide receivers are kind of suspect right now. It's relying on a lot of individuals that are sophomores or in the case of Ridley and Godwin, just vets that have one more year in them. Looking at this, see here, stocks. So I'm going to take a little bit of a risk and take Kirk. See if I can grab Stroud in that. But I don't think I probably will. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know if Stroud will actually come around, but let's see if I can get him. A lot of talk about Christian Kirk, overrated. But I do think that if he takes over that slot role, and if you go back to early last year, I mean, when Diggs was playing in that slot role, he did pretty well. Diggs had some big games, like not big games, not like crazy like wide receiver one games, but decent games, right? Where Stroud kind of looked in the slot for Diggs, and then unfortunately Diggs got that injury, towards ACL. So it's I think Kirk could have the same type of impact on that Houston Texans offense, and for Stroud as well as a safety blanket over the middle. Dalton Schultz is not something you have to worry about as a tight end in the middle. So I think Christian Kirk could come back and have a kind of more of a comeback year. Like I said, is it a guarantee? No, but as wide receiver 6, I think he's worth the gamble. And I think it kind of fits. If I can land Stroud on this team, like I got that stack. So looks good. I think Mr. Hendricks over here won't take Stroud. So I'll grab him here a little bit past ADP, which is not too bad. And I have him as my second quarterback. So Stroud and Kirk stack, nothing to write home about, nothing I'm going to brag to my friends about. But he kind of works on this team, and just hoping for Kirk to be that safety blanket in the middle and stay healthy and be able to actually, help out Stroud this year. Because obviously Stroud needs a bounce back year. So much hype as a second year last year for him and didn't come through. So hoping he's kind of learned from that and kind of humbled himself. And remember all that talk with him and Caleb Williams, right? Him giving advice to Caleb Williams, and all of a sudden he's kind of landing on his face too. So be interesting to see what happens with Stroud this year. It's gonna be a big year for him. Coming around here, the Jayden Blue news is quite interesting, right? Funny how that comes out this morning. I don't know if anyone's ever seen it. Has anyone seen it? But the reports are that Jayden Blue is lazy, according to Dallas Cowboys coaches. An ex-coach, and I don't think he's a current coach, but an ex-coach saying that he's lazy, and unfortunately, that's not a good thing. But at the same time, and he goes, so I'm going to take Tootin, and I'll talk about him later. We're just kind of finish my blue point. Yeah, that running back room is something that you could take over if you're halfway decent. And so, given the veterans you have on that, with Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, you don't really have much competition. So if this, I don't know, obviously considered lazy, some people's expectations of players the way they perform or practice is not the same. So some might call it laziness, some might call it fine. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. But you got a great opportunity to take over that backfield if you're Jayden Blue. So I'm looking at two players here, Cam Ward, and I'm looking at Dylan Sampson. I already have 4 running backs, so I don't know if I need him right now. Dylan Sampson is one of my favorite picks from before. He's obviously started to kind of go up the draft boards like crazy because of the Judkins news. But I'll kind of hold off. What do we have for wide receivers still available? For quarterbacks available. Okay. So I'm gonna go with Gino here. And so I picked Tootin before that. And now I have 4, maybe I should look at, maybe I can't stream and draft at the same time, but 4 running backs with 3, and 3 of them have a week 8 bye. So that's going to be kind of an interesting week 8. Sorry, I took Gino. I think I can probably grab a wide receiver that I've been drafting quite a bit. And that's Dante Thornton. Let me see where I am coming up in the draft here, which picks I have. 7. Okay. So, what can I say about Dante Thornton other than he's working with the starters, right? That's all we're going off of. He's working with the starters. Now, whether training camp starts and Jack Besh is up and he's the man, that's totally fair. And I'll my Dante Thornton stacks and Geno Smith stacks aren't going anywhere. But it'd be interesting to see, what happens. Gonna see where to go here. Unfortunately, I don't want to take. I didn't want to have to take a running back again, but I think when I screwed myself with these week 8 buys, I'll take Braylon Allen. And this is just all the talk before in the preseason and before training camp talk is about him about the Jets being maybe the top team in rushing attempts this year, and they want to get Allen involved. And I love how one Detroit coach goes to another team, and now you have a David Montgomery and you have a Jahmyr Gibbs. So apparently, Braylon Allen is the David Montgomery, and Breece Hall is the Jahmyr Gibbs of this offense. So if the rushing component is true, I'll take Braylon Allen and just hope that he gets a little bit more of an increase of snaps this year, and he can punch some in. And then in week 8, I'm relying on Jonathan Taylor and Braylon Allen to kind of carry the load. So coming around here again, this is where I'll probably take Dante Thornton to kind of create my Geno stack. Is it the greatest stack in history? No. Is it even worth the 3rd stack on your team? Probably not. Nothing great here happening. Maybe talking a lot, not thinking through my picks right now. I'll promise to get better. Yeah, I just took that. Just take Thornton because he's working the starters right now. Maybe he's that X receiver they need on the outside to complement Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. And so if he's on the field, as my 7th wide receiver, that's a win. If he doesn't do anything, like I said, 7th wide receiver, so I'm not really expecting much. But if he's on the field, he's gonna get snaps and he's around pick close to 200. I'll take it. So looking at my team right now, we got 3-5-7. This is probably going to be a 3-5-7, 2-3 build. Now I don't. Let me just kind of highlight Dalton Schultz here. My computer kind of works, but when I take when I take an elite tight end like Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, I kind of lean towards 2 tight ends only on my team, because I think Trey McBride, like him alone, just like even like a whatever game is going to be good enough. But in this case, I think I'll stick to 2. My computer is not working right now, so my internet's probably going to prevent me from taking this pick. Oh, Dalton Schultz comes in there. Let's get in there. Come on, Schultzy, get in there, buddy. Yeah, I'm probably gonna miss out on this pick here. Damn it, Dalty, Schultz. Let's see what I end up with now. Chigaquanquo. Okay, not bad, I guess. This is what you get for running a telephone wire internet. So I guess I got the top 2 pass catchers possibly on Tennessee. That's something to write home about. I don't have, and Schultz is gone, so it doesn't matter. I have no idea what's going on the internet. Like, sorry. This is pretty unprofessional for a live stream, I'll be honest. I don't think anyone's ever screamed for Dalton Schultz like that, like I just did. Can I roll a Trey McBride and Chigaquanquo? Like, is that, I want to do that? I don't know. I have no idea what's wrong with my internet right now. I feel like I'm gonna end up with Daniel Jones. Oh man, please don't. Okay, well, I don't know if I have time to refresh. Let's see if it works. Okay, I should have maybe refreshed before too. You know what? This is going to turn into a 3-5-7-3 build. Ideally, like I was saying before, I probably wouldn't have taken a third tight end just simply because I have Trey McBride. But at the same time, I don't know whose podcast I was listening to. Might have been Leone. Might have been Mike Leone. Another great podcast if you like listening. If you want to learn about best ball strategies. At that point in the draft where taking a 7th, 8th wide receiver that's probably not going to see the field over a quarterback that's going to be starting or, a tight end that's going to be starting. So I'm going to kind of go off of that. And I took Juwan Johnson, whatever. He's a starting tight end on the New Orleans Saints. Will they be good? No. But at the same time, he's going to be on that field. There's going to be a rookie quarterback or the rattle man. A tight ends this year is when you have a rookie quarterback, tight ends is probably his favorite target. But at the same time, you don't have to deal with, Taysom Hill coming, strutting in there and taking those touchdowns or taking those valuable snaps. So depending on what Taysom Hill's doing, I haven't really heard anything on whether or not he's back or he's coming back this year. Regardless, though, if he is or not, Juwan Johnson should get plenty of snaps to begin the season. So as a third tight end, it's not bad, but I'll kind of quickly go over my team and then kind of share my thoughts. So we were drafting out of the 6th position, took a 3-5-7-3 build. Quarterbacks at Kyler Murray, CJ Stroud, Geno Smith. I have 5 running backs, and I know I took 3 running backs for the week 8 bye. So, it's going to be a tricky week 8. But Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, Zach Charbonnet, Bashal Tutin, who I think is going to take over that Jacksonville Jaguars backfield. He just can't fumble the ball, man. That guy just got to I don't know what you have to do, bro. Just keep that ball in your hands. Do not drop it. Do not fumble, because I feel like if he fumbles it a couple of times, like even in preseason or the regular season to start off with, I think that guy's gonna be buried for the first year. So if you can hold on to the ball and just show that speed that he has, he'll be fine. And I think he's eventually going to take over that Jaguars backfield. Sorry. And then I got Braylon Allen simply for the fact that I think kind of mentioned that I did hear quite a bit of rumblings where Jets are going to be, a running team, most rushing attempts for the team this upcoming year. So that's what's predicted. So if I get part of that offense, he did, he kind of flashed last year behind Breece Hall. And so far, what I've heard is, like I said, it's probably not true, but it's kind of, it's always the fun thing when, every team, as soon as a team's coach leaves, and then they try to find, the same mold of players. So apparently Braylon Allen's going to be David Montgomery this year, and Breece Hall's Jahmyr Gibbs. So if that's the case, and he can pop in like 5 to 7 touchdowns, would be great as your running back 5. For my wide receivers, kind of suspect, not gonna lie. Sorry, excuse me for a second here. Sorry about that. Wide receivers, Ted McMillan, to go with Calvin Ridley, Chris Godwin, Ricky Pearsall, Trey Harris, Christian Kirk, and Dante Thornton. Ted McMillan, I said, like I was saying before, wide receiver 1, high draft pick. Hopefully Bryce Young improves. I'm ready to take that step up. And this is just banking on him, having a good first year. Hopefully it's not Marvin Harrison first year. But at the same time, he wasn't, there's no Trey McBride on that team. So I think Ted McMillan will win in regards to being in a Dave Canales offense year 2. And I think that he's going to be able to, put up some good numbers this year. Calvin Ridley, same type of deal, vet. But I think he, like I was saying, is kind of like, I don't know, feels like a Terry McLaurin kind of bounce back for him. You have a proper wide quarterback this year. Hopefully, number 1 pick Cam Ward. And all this off-season talk has been how him and Ridley are tight, and he's been going to Ridley for a lot of things and on what to do, and the communication is great between the two. So I hope that Ridley can get what McLaurin got with Jaden Daniels as a young quarterback's trust. And like I said, he's not dealing with a lot of opposition when it comes to wide receivers, or competition. Sorry, for those targets on that team. The Titans have pretty much the same wide receiver room. Obviously they added a couple of rookies in there, but still the same guys. The same. You got the corpse of Tyler Lockett running around, and so you're not really dealing with a lot of individuals that are going to catch the ball, except for Chigaquanquo, but I'll get back to that later. So I think Ridley is going to have a good year. I'm just banking on upgrade at quarterback, better than Will Levis, who prefers to throw to cornerbacks than wide receivers. Third pick, Chris Godwin, and this another one's a big risk. Obviously coming back from a gruesome injury. But Chris Godwin was cooking, in those weeks prior to the injury, and even that game. And so if there's not too much of a deviance from what happened last year, obviously with Liam Cohen gone on that Tampa Bay offense, if Chris Godwin is healthy, pray he's healthy and ready to go for week 1. And even gets 80% of those targets and 80% of those touches, or those fantasy points that he was getting, to start last year, where he was like wide receiver 3 or something crazy like that until he went down. Here's hoping they kind of get that back. It is being optimistic and just hoping to kind of get something of that back. Fourth one was Ricky Pearsall. Ayuk is out. Who knows if he's gonna be back, and his condition when he does come back. Debo's gone, so it's gonna be Pearsall and Juwan Jennings and Kittle out there. And I think that Pearsall had some good games, late in the season last year. So I think he can build from that. And this year, he's healthy, got that bulletproof vest on. And hopefully, he's able to, get that full training camp in. A little bit of injuries in the mini camp in June, but I think he should be good to go. They're saying he's good to go. So here's him hoping that he kind of rolls in training camp and gets into that slot role and is able to, like I said, he's already played with Purdy before, has that trust, had some big games. So if you could build from that, that'd be great. Trey Harris, just my wide receiver 5 pick. I kind of went with Trey on the news yesterday about Mike Williams retiring, and they were planning to play him as an X wide receiver on the field. So him retiring just means that Trey Harris has one less individual or one less vet that they have, for a competition of snaps. So that's a good thing. He's not going to be worried about playing time so far. And if he does, well, he had a good routes, yards per route run, I think, number in college. So if, I think it was kind of, I think it was really high, which is probably not bankable in the NFL. But, if he can show that he's got it with Justin Herbert, obviously being a good quarterback, so you're not playing with someone shitty. So if he's able to kind of show that he deserves to be on the field, and like I said, you got Ladd kind of drawing the targets in the middle, and then you have Trey Harris on the outside. So if he can step up, like I said, Mike Williams is gone, so he doesn't have to worry about that, and he should have a lot of playing time. So I think the training camp is going to be big, and I think he's going to start going up the boards a little bit more as soon as he makes like some good highlights in training camp. And they kind of and everyone kind of starts talking about him, starting and being the starting wide receiver for the Chargers. So next one, Christian Kirk, just kind of went back and just Christian Kirk kind of reminds me of Diggs last year with the Texans. Diggs came in, played that slot role, did really well, and then unfortunately went down with injury. So if Kirk can come in the same way, obviously no injury, but if he comes in the same way, plays that slot role and gets Stroud's trust, I think he's going to be good. It's a big risk again. I don't think my vets all have big risks, but next to them. But wide receiver 6, if he has a couple of good games, he's shown it before, right? Like he did really well in Jacksonville, and it's kind of similar, right? Like Trevor Lawrence and Stroud. That middle of the field, that safety valve as a slot wide receiver. So hoping that, Christian Kirk can play. And so far the talk is that he will be the starting slot wide receiver, and maybe Jalen Noel will take a back seat for now. And then when he is ready, then we'll see what happens. But at the same time, Kirk will be starting. So let's get those points early in the season. And then Dante Thornton, I just took to kind of stack with Geno. And he's working with the starters, right? That's all you can say right now. Working with the starters, nothing great. But if he is that starting wide receiver, outside wide receiver, where you have Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers drawing a lot of attention in the middle, and he gets a lot of one-on-ones. Who knows, right? I heard he's a pretty crazy athlete, freakish athlete, good size as well. I think 6'4" or something like that. So on the outside, some of those jump balls that Geno was kind of used to throwing to Metcalf, kind of get those for Dante Thornton. And if that training camp hype, it was like mini camp hype, kind of translates into training camp hype. He's obviously started going up the boards as well. So they did pick Jack Besh, and I think a lot of people thought that Jack Besh might be that guy this year. But like I said, mini camp news is all a bit about Jack Besh working with the number 2s. And a lot can change, and obviously in training camp. So here's just betting on Dante Thorne, getting a lot of training camp buzz. And that's when people start, dialing in, and then he'll probably go up the boards again as well. So, and then my tight end room has Trey McBride. Don't need to say much about that. Positive TD regression hopefully this year, and his numbers are going to be crazy. 2 touchdowns, I think, last year. And so obviously his fantasy points were not as high as they possibly could have been given his usage especially in the red zone. So if that number comes up, you gotta, and I took him in the third round. He's just as good as a wide receiver 1, right? Wide receiver 2 at the tight end position. So you just bank on those points every week and kind of move on. So that's why I usually like to take two tight ends if I take Bowers or McBride. But I think McBride will probably, put up the tight end 1 numbers this year. Chigakonkwo, it wasn't my pick. It was my computer, sorry, breaking down. I can I don't mind Chig for this reason that rookie quarterback with a tight end, kind of a good match. Not much competition for targets on that team. You got Ridley, obviously, which we already have, but as a number 2, target possibly on the Tennessee Titans, that's not a bad thing. He did have some good games late in the year last year. I think the last 3 or 4 weeks he finally came on, but the only scary part is with Tennessee, they did draft a tight end. That's this regime's tight end. Like they picked them. So we'll see. I'm not too worried because I have Trey McBride, so I'm not really concerned if Chig works out or not. But if he does, it's a bonus. And then I took Juwan Johnson as my last pick. My last round, I'm just looking for guys that are going to play that kind of have understanding that they are going to play. Obviously, rookies can come on, but that's such a wild card. You don't know for sure. So I took Juwan Johnson because he is going to be on the field, starting tight end for the Saints. Rookie quarterback again. Not much competition for targets. You only have Olave and the big if with Olave is if you can stay healthy is Shaheed, and then I think Brandon Cooks they signed, but not much talk about him. So Kellen Moore's offense is usually target the middle of the field, tight ends and slot wide receivers. So he's just begging on, he's on the field and he's going to get snaps as my last round pick. That's all you can ask for, right, in best ball. So you don't have to worry about the big games, not showing up like redraft. It's, just take it on. And then Taysom Hill as well, if he's not ready to go, that's one less guy you have to worry about, right? Taysom Hill running on their field with his, chest out every time and just friggin' running the ball. I don't know what the hell he does. He does everything, right? Obviously, he throws the ball, runs the ball, catches the ball, kicks the ball. He does everything, that guy. So he's not good to go, I think, to the start of the year. So, more snaps for Juwan Johnson, and you only have to beat out Foster Moreau or something like that. Into that. And that's not something you have to worry about. So, that's the team. 3573. Not sure how many people are actually even on here or in here. I was talking to myself, but I really don't care in terms of subscribe. It's not about that for me. It's just I just love football. I love drafting, and I just want to kind of share it on a platform and just kind of talk through it. Because I kind of talk about it with myself, so might as well just put it out there and hope people enjoy it. That's the first one. So I think I'll end it today just to kind of see how it went. I don't know who joined in. I appreciate anyone that did listen today. If you like kind of how this draft went, I will have videos like this put up. Feel free to like and subscribe, I believe. Drop a note. I appreciate any feedback on what I can do better. If you think I should stay away from fantasy football, that's fair. And I probably can't, but I will take that into consideration if I have enough people saying that I suck really bad and I shouldn't be doing this, especially at putting it out there for people to listen to and ruining people's mindset when it comes to best ball. But once again, I just wanted to thank everybody for joining in. If you didn't, then it was just me. Then I really don't give a shit, and I'll just appreciate myself. But thanks again, and hopefully I'll have another live out soon or another stream out with a draft as well. All right, take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. Fantasy Football Dad is leaving